Let's also welcome Jeroen. Jeroen is here with us, but we will introduce him officially when we start. I think, Doreen, we should start in the next minutes because we're already 5 minutes away. Yeah, we are late by 5 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, I think we can just start.
Yeah.
So everybody knows me. Well, maybe not everybody. We have some external guests today also. So my name is Doreen. I work at IOM. It's a UN agency for migration. We have a lot of projects related to migration, and we have a lot of projects related to diaspora engagement. And one of these projects is ED4D, which is called Entrepreneurship by Diaspora for Development. This is a project that we started almost 2 years ago with people from the... Hi, I can see somebody else joined. So it's a project that we started in October 2018, and the objective of the project is actually to accompany a group of people with Ethiopian backgrounds and Ghanaian backgrounds living in the Netherlands and with business ambitions for Ethiopia and Ghana. We actually help them in the whole preparation phase in terms of training, mentoring, and then tips for access to finance. So we did not really plan this series of webinars because we had hoped that we could have organized a conference, but given the situation, we have to be a bit more creative. And actually, I think it's a nice format to stay in touch. And so that's why we decided with ZD, let's host a series of webinars for 6 weeks with different speakers on access to finance and investor readiness. So we had a first edition last week, and today is the second edition. And the first 3 webinars are more focused maybe on initiatives and that exist in the Netherlands. And then we'll have more specific webinars for Ghana and Ethiopia and Africa as a whole in the last 3. So every week we publish our agenda on our website, which is connectingdiaspora.org. So you can always have a look, and I hope that you will join us for the whole series. The last edition will be on the 1st of July. I give the floor back to Frida because I think we can start. She will announce also the speakers that we have today. So welcome everybody, and I hope it will be a good session.
So thank you very much, Doreen, and nice to see everyone. Thank you for joining. And I won't go back to the details of the ED4D, but my name is Frida Ntarangwe for the people who have not interacted with me. But I think all the faces look familiar and the names. And I'm the founder of the ZD Circle, and we are an entrepreneurship and financing platform where we help entrepreneurs access to finance and capacity building. So without going into details, I'm going to introduce our speaker, Jeroen. And Jeroen is the founder of Impact Tribe. And Impact Tribe basically works with entrepreneurs as well in the Netherlands and I'm sure also internationally to help them access to finance. So, and like we saw last week, access to finance is not just saying I'm fundraising. I think there's a problem. Somebody's audio is still not muted. So that's why we are having... Did you mute? Yeah. So I was trying to say what Jeroen does with Impact Tribe. He helps entrepreneurs with fundraising. He organizes, of course, also workshops to help entrepreneurs get investor ready. Yeah. I think somebody's mic is not okay. Yeah. Let me see who has not muted, and I'll basically call their names out because then we can produce. RM, please mute your audio. It's in front of you. David has muted. Yeah, I think most of the people have muted now. Yeah. So I'll give the floor to Jeroen, but he's also an entrepreneur. So he has also founded his own companies that were successful. He sold them. And now out of his experience, he decided to help other entrepreneurs raise capital. So you tell us more about how to really prepare, how to do the investor deck, what the investors look out for. And I'm going to give the floor now to Jeroen. Jeroen, you have the floor to introduce yourself before we move on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frida. Thank you. Very nice introduction. Yeah, I will keep it short because I think I want to give a lot of value. I think that's what you would like to hear. Yeah, so my name is Jeroen. I'm based in the Netherlands, being an entrepreneur now for 8 years. So I built, my first company was a circular t-shirt company, which I sold last year, and now building and helping out entrepreneurs, because I also walked the journey of finding investors on my own. So, and it's not always easy, to be honest. I think that's why I want to share our knowledge, my knowledge, and to help along with the journey. I prepared a presentation for all of you, so I will switch to some slides. And so just a second, if that's okay with you. Yes, I think we're here. I just want to give around 15 or approximately, maybe it will be 20 minutes. We will see how it goes. But I prepared some things concerning fundraising and the steps you need to take care of, and explain a little bit about the journey, how to get an investor on board. Please make notes during the mastery. I think it's good to write down some things because the slides will have only some keywords. So and in between I give some extra information. So I think it's good to write them down for yourself. So again, this is about how to teach you briefly or learn how to land that investment in the coming weeks or months. That depends on which stage your company. And I think a lot of things changed the past couple of months concerning the corona, and I think the why, of course, is not changing, but how you're going to get that money in has changed dramatically, I think, the last couple of months. And I would like to give you our point of view and how we could help, or how we see to prepare for that. So I love this book. It's I don't know if somebody has read it or good one to buy, and it's from Simon Sinek. He really explains this very well about starting with the why. He also has a lot of videos on YouTube, so I think it's if you don't know him yet, I think it's a great tool to look at and get some valuable information.
Jeroen, sorry to interrupt, but we cannot see your screen. Or maybe I'm the only one. No. I can see a gray background, but I don't see any text.
Ah, that's interesting.
So the book you were mentioning, I think nobody was able to to read it. Try again.
Yes. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, now it's perfect.
Great. Well, this is the book. So start with the why from Simon Sinek. I think it's a great book to look up and or watch some great videos on YouTube. You can find them. And yeah, the way we see also it's concerning telling your story. I think it's an important part of being an entrepreneur, to tell your story also towards investors. So and that's why yeah, you have to start with the why, with your vision, your mission. Yeah, our mission is also to help by 2030 1 million entrepreneurs to give them access to sustainable knowledge and skills, and also yeah, funding. So and the elements of that story, yeah, there are several elements. I will explain those elements which needs to be in your story. And number one is, I think it's also very important, so who's your audience basically? So who are you talking to? And so really know your audience. So if it's an investor, also know who he or she is, and find out more in detail about also how much money they normally invest, and etc. So really do some research, so you can really align also on a personal level. I think it's important. Yeah, so the second part of your story, the element is really look at your goal. So what would you like to reach when you tell your story? So what's your goal? Is that landing that investment, or is it having that investor to be a business partner, or doing that sale? So there's always different goals, of course, you would like to reach if you tell your story. And yeah, I think it's good to have that in front of you when you start presenting or tell your story. And third element is yeah, also share your challenges. So where are you at? So what kind of needs you have? So that's also part of your story. So that's an important element as well. And the fourth element in your storytelling is always it's about the character. So for example, the way I also introduce myself often as a mechanic, because when I was young, I always was always working with machines, and I love to take things apart and build it together. And now again, I'm helping a lot of companies to. I'm again that mechanic to help them prepare their story or prepare them for investment. So that's something I really like to do, and I think it's also a nice part of telling your story, what drives you. And I think the fifth element in your story is the resolution. So what I mean with that is that something happens in your life, for example, or how did you overcome it? So that's also an important part of your story, and that can also reflect in your investor deck, for example. Often a lot of entrepreneurs start with something they see in the market or they experience on their own, and they want to change some things there. And the second step, or in preparing for investment, is of course how to pitch to investors, to tell your story, but also to build basically your pitch deck. So that's a very important document to share with your investors, where you highlight your company and what you do there. And we also did research about it, that an investor in average spends 3 minutes and 44 seconds on your investor deck. So that's quite short. So in that 3 minutes and 44 seconds, you have the time basically to, I would say, to get that hook, so people attention, and then make that appointment. That's I think the main goal of building your pitch deck. How we write that pitch deck, I think it's good to share that as well with you. There's about 6 archetypes, we call them. So there are different ways to write your deck. You can find, of course, quite some examples on the internet, but I think every company has its own stage or way to present. So I will explain briefly those 6 different archetypes we use in decks. And number 1 is, I think, the most common. It's about, I think 50% of the decks are built like this. So it's called the problem solution archetype. So basically, if you look to Tesla, for example, existing vehicles are polluters. So we built an electric car. So that's you see clearly the problem and how they are going to solve it. I think this is a very effective way to present your company in a pitch deck. The second one is pretty different compared to the first one as well. There's we call it attraction story. So this is more for companies who already have market fit and have quite some turnover. So it's more suitable for scale-ups. You're less on the focus on what you're solving or your product, but it's more about presenting the numbers. So basically, you really start with the numbers and the growth you have gone through, and so it's also more suited for venture capital than this kind of pitch deck. And the third archetype we call the X for Y. So that's, for example, you give an example in an already existing market or company who is quite known and also growing that area. So, for example, you take Airbnb. And then you say, okay, we are the Airbnb for dogs, for example. So that's how you explain basically how your company works and how your business model works. And so a lot of people can really imagine how of course your company is working. And it's often also a combination between problem and solution. So and then basically in the slides how you can explain your story. It's then you bring along this comparison. And the fourth archetype we called scratch your itch. So what I mean is that's for example for me, I worked a long time in the fashion industry, where I did always the sales and marketing, and at a certain point I really I could not fit anymore in the system. So my itch was there. I wanted to change things, and so I decided to do it on my own and start my own company with my own vision about it, how I think it should be. And so and that's from that itch my company started, my circular t-shirt company. That's also part of your pitch, then your story, of course, in a pitch. That brings along your passion and your drive. The fifth archetype, we call it the crystal ball, and that's basically you really look into the future and use, for example, AI or a lot of solutions which are VR, etc. You already show them the vision. For a lot of investors, it's pretty an attractive way to present your startup. It's also tricky. It's not easy to sell that crystal ball, of course, because it is really new, and so you really have to build that deck with a lot of information concerning government changes or whatever things are coming up in the next year. So you really have to find data for that to support your vision into the future, basically. There's still I hear some music or whatever it is. The sixth archetype we call wouldn't it be nice? So that's basically it is close
Alex?
to the crystal ball.
Hi.
And
sorry, just a minute, Jeroen. I think please, could you mute your audio? There's when you look at your screens, next to the video, there is mute audio. If you press there, we are not going to hear your background noise, please. Otherwise, we all can't hear. Okay.
Frida, maybe you have a button as well as moderator to mute everyone at one time. I don't have experience with Blue Jeans, but with Zoom you can mute all at once.
Okay,
Last week we had this, but not now. But I saw Alex just muted himself, so we don't have a problem. We can continue now.
All right. So the sixth archetype, how to write your pitch deck, is wouldn't it be nice? So that's very close to your crystal ball, but it's more. Yeah, for example, if you look to Uber, wouldn't it be nice or be really cool to hail a taxi from your phone and watch it drive towards you? So I think that's how they started out. Often this deck or approach, there's already more into the market, and the market is more mature compared to the crystal ball. But it is also very attractive, of course, also for investors to read this as well. But you have to also really put in a lot of data and a lot of information there to share with them, so they all can get along with your basically your vision, how you see it, and your dream. I think it's also good to how do you structure then a pitch deck. So there's a certain order there, which at least way we see it, and I really love this quote from Einstein, which I think is very applicable to a lot of decks I see. If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough yourself. I think that's a big challenge, because I think the most value we give to help a lot of entrepreneurs is really to cut down a lot of information in the deck and really make it even more clear to other people as well, because often you want to explain too much, and then people get overwhelmed, and then basically your story or your message gets lost, unfortunately. So here's a short overview of what kind of information should be in there. So I want to highlight one thing which is very, very important, and that's basically the first page, so the introduction page. That's really, it needs to be very, like the book, of the cover of the book. It needs to be attractive, and the tagline needs to be there, so people get really curious how to read further on, and spend that 3 minutes and 44 seconds basically. We have a blueprint for that, so I think it's good to share it with you. So I think I send it to Frida, and then I will send it out to the participants here, and then you also have that information there as well. So your next steps for an investment deck. So which kind of options you have. Concerning finances, I will go through it briefly. There are 4 options. So the first is convertible loan. So that's about, basically what you do is here to, in a later stage, you convert that loan into equity. And so you already, especially in an early stage, it helps to start the process quickly, and there's a lot of always a big discussion is about the valuation of a company, and it's very difficult in the beginning if you don't have turnover or you just have an MVP, or so this is a good way to get financed in a quick manner. And the second one is equity. That's quite also it's a longer process. It takes quite a few months to get it done. A lot of paperwork has to go with it, but the good thing is, I think, is also for the investors, it gives we call it skin in the game, but they're really more involved also in your company, and share their knowledge also with you. I think it's it's a good option. And yeah, the third one is grants. Yeah, the good thing is there's no equity. It's also quite a long process, but Willem, I think Mahasi will explain everything about grants. That's his specialty. So, but at least it's already something which I think is really good to start with. There's also there's a lot of possibilities there. And the fourth one is crowdfunding. Basically, you have three kinds of crowdfunding: so equity funding or loans, or if you have a product. A pre-sale. So that's all. I also started with my company to sell products and create basically already raving fans, which supported me after they bought my products as well, and they also became great ambassadors. So there's the good thing is you also need to really prepare this as well. So everything takes quite a while to get your audience and to if you want to have succeed, of course, with your campaign. And yeah, what you should think about before you start with fundraising is really to think how you're going to spend the money, on which kind of things you're going to spend it. I think that's also important for an investor. They would like to know, spend it wisely, and they really would like to see that you spend it on assets, so instead of only costs. So I think that's good to realize as well. Yeah, so yeah, you have a lot of steps now to look at your story, investment deck, and then of course ideally you have your investment meeting, and I think it's good to prepare for that investment meeting. Is really to prepare. Because a lot investors will ask you a lot of questions. So we made a document with around 100 questions investors will ask you, which you can also find at our website, or we can share it with you as well. I think it's very valuable to learn from that. And I think it's also important if you want to, that's again, to your storytelling, it's really to do your due diligence with what kind of investor you would like to work with, and how, did he already invest in certain companies? So maybe it's good to call some companies he or she invested in, so you can do the due diligence there as well. Yeah, I think this is the final part, so I think then we can go into the Q&A, but I think it's also important that that's why I love also to be here in this room to share knowledge, and to I think it's good to reach out as an entrepreneur, because I know from experience it can be lonely. I've been in that situation as well, and you don't have to do it alone. So there's a lot of people who want to share the knowledge with you. So that's it, and thank you for your attention. I think it's good to see if there are some questions. So I will go back to my video, and then we'll see you then.
Thank you very much, Jeroen. Thank you. I think it was really clear. But now let's go to the questions. Unfortunately, we were not able to mute everyone at the same time, so I would still encourage those who are...
I think there's only one person. I don't know who Del is, but please can you mute your microphone?
Yeah. So I have Enoch asking, do you think Simon's YouTube videos on the why are sufficient, or do we need to book to get the book to get the proper understanding of the why?
No, I think the video is pretty good. So if you start there, I think that already explains a lot. I think it's in a video of 15 minutes about Apple, for example. He gives quite some good examples concerning the why and also the how and the what. So he calls it also the golden circle. But yeah, always start with the why. I think that's but it will explain. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, thank you, Jeroen. The other question is, has anything changed with investors due to Corona? Maybe the perception, the due diligence. Maybe
Definitely,
share with us.
yes, definitely it's changed a lot, but I think there's, some investors, of course, had to help their existing investments to put more money in it, for example. So there's less space for them to invest in new companies. So that's changed. And I think there's a big, also a big focus on more, at least I see it in my field, concerning impact. So having a positive impact. I think more and more investors also realize that there's a need. If you look to the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, I think a lot of investors are going to look at that more. If you look to e-health or online learning, or you see what's happening in here as well. We also do a lot of online things. So basically a lot of things which we thought should be in like 5 years really jumped 5 years forward. So that's what's happening. So I think that's changing, and some investors are also a little bit more cautious, and some really see it as a big opportunity. But in general, I think impact will make a big jump, and a lot of online things, for sure.
Thank you, Jeroen. And I think also what's important is, don't think that Corona has come and you have to shut down everything. It's good to talk to investors and try to update them. So anybody who is interested with your company, I think it's very important to update them. Maybe share the challenges you're having, and probably they will help you also get out of that. The next question, Enoch is asking, where can we find the book on the 100 questions investors may ask? And I think, Jeroen, you said you'd share with us. Or?
I will share the investor blueprint. I will make sure Frida will with you afterwards, and we can also do that with the 100 questions, so we have some information there. So it's I will share everything with Frida. So yes, it's very interesting acquisition to do the 100 questions. So
thanks, Jeroen. So the other question is, one key factor with projects in developing countries is the credit record of potential customers. How much do you have to do to convince investors in this area? Do you have any personal experience? And we are talking about Africa specifically, I think.
Yeah, I have less experience in that sense, but I can imagine. And we have now also one company who's working in Africa, and it's a Dutch-based company, but his focus is also there. So I don't have exact experience in that area, so I cannot answer that, I think, in complete matter in that sense. But I think, it is of course a big a question mark also for investors. So I think it's good that you really, if you look to a pitch deck, really focus on that, how you can secure it, and make sure the credits are there. And I think there's more and more, also some smaller fintech companies who are focusing on that area as well. So it's something to look at. Yeah.
Maybe to add on Jeroen, of course I focus on Africa, so I have a lot of experience in that. And today, for example, I was talking to some investors. We were talking about something totally different, and they were saying the biggest challenge is actually showing them that they are going to get their money back. Yeah. So if you are talking about credit rating in the Netherlands, and that's what I was telling them, you cannot apply the same credit criteria to companies coming from Africa and companies in the Netherlands, because they are totally different things. Sometimes reporting is not right. But I would say, with this group and what we did during the boot camp is that we're really trying to prepare you to do things the right way, so that even if we are dealing with the Dutch investors or European investors, we're able to convince them that these are really solid businesses, that you have traction, you have potential for growth, you are running your business in the right way, and you're reporting it in the right way, and that's really helps remove the doubts the investors have. So the next question is, Doreen is asking, being an entrepreneur yourself, what would be your best tip to the entrepreneurs based on your personal experience? Just survival tactic, I think.
No, really, for me, I think personally, really also to develop yourself in that sense. And what I mean with that is really develop your mindset and invest in personal development, because I think most companies are not failing because there's lack of money, or it's a bad idea, or the market is not big enough. I think it really has to do how do you persevere as an entrepreneur. It really takes it's an amazing opportunity to grow as a person, so really become you better as a better person. I think for me that's the biggest personal what I experienced in the beginning, and it also slowed down my process as a company, because the bigger you think as a person, the bigger your company will be, and the bigger your impact will be. That's one-on-one. It's like a mirror, and I think that's for me the personal. And once you make that decision, it's also magical. Yeah, but it takes guts. It's not easy.
Thanks, Jeroen. And I'm smiling because Jeroen and I exchange a lot about how the businesses are going, and it's the same thing. It's the stamina, and before you know it, you meet people, and you start expanding slowly. But then you don't quit, because when you quit, it will never. Every time you take 1 year and quit, when you come back, you have to start 3 years behind. So I think just to answer what Jeroen is saying, do we have more questions? Mm-hmm. No,
and reach out. I think reach out as well, like you're doing here, and that's what I mean. You're not alone. I think that's that. I think it's very valuable as well. There are a lot of people who are willing to support you and share their knowledge. So.
Yeah. So Del is asking, how much money as your contribution should you have? Because sometimes investors come with their money, but they want to see your contribution.
Yeah, great question. The way we do it is we have a certain percentage of our turnover, so not the profits, but the turnover goes to education. So for us, that's 5%. Invest in education as well, because we strongly believe in education. That for us will make the biggest difference in this world. And what I mean with education is then really entrepreneur education for certain development countries to also have access to that knowledge as well. I think that's for us makes the biggest impact.
So Jeroen, I don't know if you got it right, but I think what they're trying to say. So maybe you are raising equity, for example, and you're asking for 500,000. Yeah. So the investor expects you to have something on your own. So that's contribution. How much in your experience with investors, how much do they expect you to have? But I know also maybe you can mention that sometimes we put so many hours in the business, you invest a lot of hours, so maybe also it's going to quantify that. Maybe, I think that's the question, if I'm right.
Yeah, okay, good. And that's a different angle, but I think the other one is also important. But for me, that's yes, I think. But you start out, in the beginning, you already spend a lot of time, energy, and also probably some money. And most of the times, of course, it's also concerning the valuation. So how much value did you already build? And that can be a product, it can be already a customer base. I think so there's a lot of elements which are involved concerning that part. But I think I think that's the always also the challenge for investors. But hopefully I get it right, or maybe
I
is it
think
clear, or should I make it more clear, or
No, I think it's okay. Basically, it's quantifying your efforts. So is it material? Is it in terms of money that you put in your business? Did you code? Are you a developer? Did you code? How many hours? And then it's easier to quantify that into hours. How many how many hours did you spend on the business? And maybe doing the market research, trying to make sales, all that every day that you spend on your business, you should be able to quantify. And I think for investors, if they see this kind of effort, then it's really great. So I think we have one more last question, because then William is waiting. And this question is, in terms of reaching out, do you ever think of establishing a support group for interested entrepreneurs around the world to be able to create a platform to share experiences among each other? And that's the last question, Jeroen.
Basically what we did is we built already kind of platform. It's called the Inner Tribe. So our company is called Impact Tribe, but we also have an Inner Tribe, and people can join there and have a lot of knowledge, and is also shared there. And there's also a group which I think is also interesting to look at. That's top tier impact. So that could be also interesting join. So there's, but yeah, I think it's great. I think it's good to have, let's say, things you don't learn at school that they're. That's and we do also a lot with our blogs and of course these kind of webinars. I think it's good to share knowledge. So yeah.
So thank you very much, Jeroen. I think it was really clear and to the point, and thank you for answering all the questions. I'm sure everyone has many questions, but you can always direct them to us, and to Jeroen. I'll share his contact as well if you need specified support. Yep. And now it's time to welcome William. William, are you with us?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much. So I'm going to introduce William, and William Mas is the founder of MK Subsidy, and this company is based in the Netherlands, and they're helping entrepreneurs access subsidies. So according to him, I'm sure he's gonna introduce himself and explain more about what they do. They say that 90% of the companies are actually qualified to have these subsidies. But a lot of people maybe do not know about it, or they do not pay attention, and only like 20% of them access these subsidies. So William, welcome, and I think you can begin with introducing yourself. Thank you very much.
Yes, I will. Thank you for the invite. I always love it when I can speak about what I do and what we do as a company, and how we can support good and bright entrepreneurs with their ideas and with their plans. Like me, yes, I'm a guy from the Netherlands, indeed, 31 years old. I grew up near Rotterdam. I love creating stuff. I love being helpful. I love to think about the society. I also studied next to economics philosophy. So I like to think a lot, but it's not only thinking. After thinking, we should also act. So that's basically what I like to do. And I was also, I think already from a young age, busy with this, and then I started in entrepreneurship in companies, and then already when I was 20, during my studies, I found out that there are a lot of subsidy opportunities, and subsidy opportunities, it means basically that the government is investing money as well. So a lot of organizations, when they are thinking about fundraising, they think mainly about how do I get a credit from the bank, or how do I get an investment. Very important things, But what I think it's good that you have all the options available so that you know which kinds of opportunities there are, and also at government. And we know, like governments, we cannot always trust them. We have to be a bit careful with that, and we have to think about it. So, like, it's not the only option, of course, but I think it's important to see which kind of subsidy opportunities, public funding there are from the government. And governments, you have them in a lot of forms. So you have, of course, the national government from a country, but also your province or your city or the European Commission or certain types of foundations. So, for example, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, that's also an organization who is giving funding to companies. And the big difference, and then I go to my presentation, I will click on present and see if that's working, is that subsidies, and the good thing about it is that if you do everything right and if you're spending your money wisely, you don't have to pay interest as well. Like with an investor, they are taking a stake of your company. So they actually will be one of the owners of your company. And the good thing is about subsidies, they will give it to you. They will not give it to you like easily, because you have to work for it. You have to show what your plans are and that they really contribute to their goals. So basically, that's I think the big difference between subsidies and other types of funding. But please be aware, it's not easy. It also costs time. You also have to convince them to believe in your project. So that's the same with investments or with a bank. Yeah, I'm Willem Maas. I'm indeed the co-founder of MK, and I will tell you a bit more about this subject. And if you have any questions, put them in the chat. You can also, it would be nice if there are people who are willing to put in the chat what they are doing, basically in one line, in which market they are active. And I see a bit of the audience, and then I know what you are doing, and maybe I already have bright tips and ideas for subsidies you can apply for. If not, just ask your question in the chat, and I think Frida will ask them to me, right?
Thank you, yeah.
All right, very good. So I will try to share my screen. Let me see. Can you see my screen, Frida?
Yes, it's right.
All right,
Yeah,
very good. Very good. So just interrupt me if there are super relevant questions, and otherwise I will finish my monologue, my presentation, and I tell about this subject. But it's very broad. So if you have any specific questions, please, put it in the chat. So basically today I'm talking about 4 subjects. 1 is the subsidy landscape. 2 is technology readiness levels. There's technology in it, but you can also say business readiness levels. It's not the same, but you can compare it. But a lot of companies nowadays are partly or fully based on technology, because it's a thing in society nowadays. So we learn to let technology help us, but there are also some ethics, of course, in technology, so it's not always helping us. But if we use it in the right way, it can help us to make a better and nicer world. The 3rd subject I will talk about is subsidies, and subsidies in the business planning. So that's a thing I will talk about it later, because you cannot see subsidies as one thing. It's part of your business planning. And the last part, I have to do a bit of self-promotion, of course. My marketing department likes that. And if you want to reach out, if you want to ask us any questions, you will find found out a bit about who we are and how we can help you. It is possible to work on subsidies on your own. And if you have the time for it and if you have the knowledge for it, do it yourself. But there are companies like us that can help you with it, because there are a lot of different subsidies and a lot of different regulations. So the subsidy landscape. Here we have a map about Europe. We are mainly active in Europe. There are also subsidies locally and nationally in other companies, but mainly I will talk about subsidies that are available in Europe. We are based in the Netherlands, but also in Germany and Düsseldorf. And of course, Belgium and the European Commission is very important for us. We are expanding, but nowadays we are focused on these countries. If we talk about subsidies, then you have different levels of subsidies. Subsidies, I already told you, is something from the government. They will give it to you. In return, you will contribute to their policy. So, for example, they have goals based on CO2 reduction. That's in the top sector, energy. They have societal challenges they want to achieve. They want you to help innovate. They want you to help to scale up your company. And if you are maybe willing to invest in people with a distance to the labor market, they can also help you with some small subsidies. In the Netherlands, there are 9 top sectors. So what basically Maxime Verhagen, I think around already 8 years ago, did, he said, like, in the Netherlands we are good in 9 sectors, and the rest is also important, of course, but we are focusing on that. If you are in one of these 9 sectors, chemistry, water, creative industry, horticulture, high-tech and ICT, agri and food, life science and health, logistics and energy, then you have more chance on innovation subsidies from the Netherlands. So if you are in one of these 9 top sectors, then it's very interesting to see if you can apply for one of the subsidies from these sectors. But next to that, there are innovation subsidies. There are subsidies for investing in energy or environment efficient, investments. So there are more things than this, but this is a very important parameter to see if you have possibilities. So the Netherlands is also divided in a few parts of the Netherlands, and you see here a few names, a few abbreviations, I think. Yeah, IQ stands for Innovation Quarter. For example, they also are part of the evaluation of subsidies. So, for example, it was not a real subsidy, but they also checked the applications for the corona overbruggingslening. So if you were a skill up and you wanted to apply for this corona overbruggingsregeling, the Innovation Quarter, they are based in The Hague, they are evaluating your proposal. But you have also the RVO in the Netherlands, and of course a very important one, the European Commission. Every country in Europe is paying money to Europe, to the European Commission, and a big part of their budget is being spent via subsidies. So here you see a few names of subsidies that are there, but be aware, like in total there are more than 1,400 subsidies. So it's a lot. It's a lot to check yourself. You can check it on the internet, of course. You can also call the RVO or the European Commission, and you can explain what you're doing, and then they can help you a bit. But maybe it's also a nice idea if you don't want to work with an agency, and maybe you can check in your own network, what are other companies doing? So ask around. I already heard Jeroen speaking about outreach. It's super important to ask your neighbors, your neighbor entrepreneur, what they are doing with funding, what they are doing with subsidies, and then you know a bit about what are possibilities. Yeah, you can do research on Google, of course, but you will find a lot of results. So it's not easy to see which subsidy is suitable for you. So that's the very first important thing. Check which subsidies are eligible for you. It can be a no, but like Frida said, we experience that more than 90% of the people that come to us can apply for a subsidy. They will not everyone will get it, so I'm not making promises about that, but most of the people, most of the organizations can apply for a subsidy. And if you have a good project, yeah, you can win it. And for example, our office is located in Rotterdam, and you have also CityLab 010, CityLab 010, and challenges for the city. So if you have a very good idea for the city of Rotterdam, you can apply for a subsidy. And maybe that's also the case for other cities or other provinces. So check at your local or national government what kind of subsidies they have. So here I'm talking a bit about technology readiness levels. It's not only technology, like I already said, it's also about the business. So when you start with your company, you have a basic idea what you're going to do. Then you're going to check what is this idea, is this feasible, are there potential any customers for it? So you ask around. Most of the times you ask around in your own network, or you talk already to potential customers. I think as an entrepreneur, I like that very much, that you do directly in outreach. So not work on a business plan forever, but call some organizations, also big organizations. They are probably willing to take your call or to take your email. I have this and this solution. Could this be a possible solution you would invest in? If they say yes, then you know you have a hit. You have to check it to see if it's feasible. If you have a no or a but, check again, ask around. And basically these are 9 levels before you have your product ready and proven in an operational environment. That means that you have people that want to buy it. And subsidies are basically for the stage before you can get investors or you can get a loan from the bank, because there is a gap in investment land. Most investors and most banks don't want to invest in a company that has not a proven product yet. And for this gap, subsidies are a very good solution, because you can already get a bit of investment from the government to let your your project grow to level 9, an actual system proven in an operational environment. And if you have that, then it's up to you, I think. Of course, maybe there are also some subsidies to let your business grow, but it's up to you to make business, to sell it, find customers, and maybe find investors to scale it up. But in the stage before that, before you have a product market fit and a product that is ready to sell to a lot of people, subsidies are super important. So it's for early stage companies, and if you are an established company, you can also apply for subsidies, but then it's most of the times for new things. If you're going to develop a new product, going into a new market, and you have to take risks again. And then there are possible subsidies. You see here some names. What a very common subsidy is, for example, in the Netherlands, is a WBSO for technical development. If you have any R&D employees in your company, you can get up to 20,000 euros per employee. If you want to check if your ID is feasible, so you can check it on the technical side and on the market side, you can apply for the MIT, Topsectoren Visibility. It's in Dutch, visual in the Netherlands. But you have also like European subsidies for collaboration projects, for knowledge or university projects, for scaling up your company in other countries. And what a very important one is, you have to develop a product already. So you need something that you already proven or that you have developed, but you can apply if you have a successful product, for example, in the Netherlands or in another country, you can apply for the DHI. It stands for Demonstratie, Haalbaarheid en Investeringsvoorbereidingsstudies. So demonstration, feasibility, and investment studies. And if you go to a new country and you want to demonstrate your product, it will cost money to go to the country, to demonstrate it, to get potential customers on board, maybe to change your product because you have to adjust your product on the local circumstances, and then you can apply for this subsidy. So basically, I think you can split it in a few parts, like innovation is very important, sustainability is very important, going international is important, and the societal challenges are important. And if you are contributing to the societal challenges, most of the times you also contribute to the SDGs, and then next to subsidies, there could also be like funds and foundations that are willing to invest in your organization. Sometimes they like it if you are a stichting instead of a BV or a company, but sometimes they also invest in real companies that make profit. Yeah, subsidies and business planning. So basically, now you think, okay, let's apply for subsidies. You have your vision, but before you can do that, you need to know what your plan is. So you need to know what is your vision, who is my potential customer, what is my market. So you need to know some basic things. You don't need to know everything. I think the slide that Jeroen already showed will help you with that, like to make a good pitch deck. If you have a good pitch deck, then you basically can send that, for example, to us, and then we can check which subsidies are applicable for you. So milestone planning, project plan, budgets could also be a pitch deck, but it will help if you have it, if you have also the budget. So how much money do you need? And then you can check which kind of subsidies are possible. And the good thing about it is that I know some companies, they applied in the first few years for more than 1 million subsidy, and this is how they survived. For example, we work for Ren Marine Technology. It's a company that's originally from South Africa, and one of the entrepreneurs came to the Netherlands, and they were part of Port Excel. That's an incubator, and we got to know them, and they develop a product that collects plastics on the water, on rivers, and it's autonomous. So it's like a drone, but on water, and it goes and it collects plastics and it brings it back. But who is going to pay for this? And it costs a lot of time to develop it and to think it through. And we help them in the first few years with all these kind of projects with more than 1 million subsidies. And now, after 3 years, they get an investment, a big investment, because they are going to scale up. But they survived also because they were able to get subsidies, and now they could sell their company with a higher valuation. So that's super nice. It will cost time. So I warn you already, like if you want to apply for subsidies, it will cost time. Like Jeroen mentioned in his presentation, basically the average time span is between 3 and 6 months before they say yes or no, you will get the money. And it can be longer even in Europe. So there is an administrative burden, and you have to be aware of that. But you can use subsidies next to other types of funding and investment. A bit about us. yeah, you see your landscape with some people on the landscape, and yeah, we have 52 consultants working for us. We are working in a network model. A few of them you see here, and what we do, we basically with our business development, we check your project, we check your business plan, whatever you have for information, and then we will give you insights about which subsidies are possible for you. And then we connect the right consultant to you. And that's 52 consultants. And this is in the Netherlands, but we have also consultants in India, in Germany, in South America. So we are kind of proud of it, about it, that we are 24/7 available, and that we can help you 24/7. And if there's a short timeline for a subsidy, we can help you with that. We are now more in 3 countries. We are active: the Netherlands, Germany, and Austria. We can help you with more than 1,400 subsidies. And in the Netherlands, because of our consultants and because we have good systems for it, you have the highest success rate. So that's a thing that yeah, too proud about it. Yeah, some numbers. Last year we arranged more than 80 million public funding for our clients. It's of course a thing to be proud of, and we hope to make that even more. We have more than 1,000 clients, a lot of different companies, small to big companies. Most of them are SMEs. Most of them are startups or scale-ups. We also work with some universities, so we can also help you with a network. So if you are going to apply for subsidy, but for example, you need to have a contact with the Wageningen University or the Radboud, or you need another SME to help you with part of your technology, then we can also help you with that. A lot of companies, also some foundations. So if they are socially active, then we try to help them too. We also, that's part of our program, we also select a few of these foundations to help them free of charge. We are super happy to do that. And for the rest, most of the times we can work based on no cure, no pay. So there's not a big investment upfront. You have to invest your time, you have to give your trust to us. So you have to give your information to us. We sign NDAs, of course, but we need information to do our work. So if you don't have the information, then we cannot do a job. But if we have all the information ready and we see good opportunities, we can do it based on no cure, no pay. So then we ask, depending on how much subsidy we will ask, and percentage of the subsidy, around 15%, 1.5. But it differs. It depends on the business case. One of my last slides. So like we have only senior consultants for every subsidy. You have the best advisor available. We work with intelligent matching. So we have also worked with data to connect the entrepreneur with the right consultant, and we are ready to help you. So this is part of my team. They are the first contact persons. You can directly contact them. Their email addresses are there. Their phone numbers are there. If you are interested in our services, you can also ask Frida to get in contact with you. Nick is responsible for the German market, and there's May and Julia for the Dutch market. I hope there are some questions. That would be nice. Should I close my presentation now, or what should I do, Frida?
Yeah, I think you did. No, it's back again.
Wait.
Yeah.
Okay, I will close my.
Stop it. Yeah. So thank you very much, William. I think it's really clear and simple, and I'm sure I saw a lot of people nodding. I think they are really getting, to at least to feel it, to feel like subsidies are possible. So that's really nice. But now we'll go straight to the questions. Then we'll thank you enough later. So one of the questions was, are there subsidies for Africa, or companies that are doing businesses in Africa? And the other one, maybe I can combine two questions. And the other one is, how much do you charge for the services, which you already sent 15%, no cure, no pay. So
Yeah,
maybe
most
you
of
can
it.
answer the first one. And then also, well, wait, another good question to go with that is, are they only based for companies based in the Netherlands, so Dutch companies? So
Well, what was the last question? Sorry.
if these subsidies are only for Dutch companies, so registered businesses in the Netherlands, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll answer the first question. It matters where you are located. So it's important for the type of subsidies you can get. So if you are a Dutch company, you can apply for, if you're a Dutch registered company, a BV or an eenmanszaak or a VOF, for example, or a foundation, you can apply for Dutch subsidies at the Dutch national government. And for example, if you are located in the province of South Holland, you can apply for subsidies from the province of South Holland and not from the province of North Holland, for example. So it matters where you are located. If you are in Germany, you can apply for German subsidies. If you are in, every company in Europe can apply for European subsidies. And also from some other countries, you can also apply for European subsidies. And I know we are not, we did some projects also, but there are also subsidies from, I know from the African Development Bank, I think, that are possible. And the European Commission is also, for some subsidies, it's always, you have to see which project you have and in which sector you are. There are possibilities also at the European Commission. But if you want to apply for a Dutch subsidy, yeah, you need this regulation, you need this establishment in the Netherlands. Yeah, you need to register your company. But nowadays it's quite easy to establish a company. You go to the notary and it only costs you like 400, 500 euros to establish a company, and that's already enough to apply for subsidies. So if you have possibility to do that, it's not bad. You can also do it, like you can also establish a company and in another country, if it's in Europe or Africa or wherever, and in the Netherlands. So you can have two locations. That's quite easy to do. So.
Thank you, William. And registering means, must you only register for a company, a BV, or you can also do eenmanszaak or a partnership, also those?
Yes, eenmanszaak or a POF partnership company is also possible. That doesn't matter.
Yeah, because one-man-zaak, I can imagine if you have another company in Africa, then that's more easy to manage than a BV. So the other question is that...
Yeah, it depends. It depends. It's not so difficult anymore to put up a BV. You don't have to put money in it. It's only registering. And okay, you have to go to the notary. That's the extra thing. But next to that, it's nowadays quite easy.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. The other question is that how long does the process take to do the application, for example, to add value to agriculture products? I think that's somebody in the agriculture sector.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you need some preparation time, of course. So an application, you need to fill in all the forms and you need to add sometimes a project plan. You need to add a budget plan to it. So you need some weeks or months. It depends how much information you already have to prepare your application. And then you are sending it in. And then it will take around 2 to 3 months from the government normally to evaluate your project. So it will take at least 3 months and sometimes even longer. So it will take time.
Okay, thank you for that. And the other one is, how is it for startups to apply for the subsidies?
Yeah, is it easy? you need to know which subsidy is possible for you, and you need to know which subsidy is the best one for you. And if you have your fit, yeah, then it's doable. You just need to describe what you're doing, and you need to read what they want. So carefully read their website. So I will put, for example, one website in the chat for the Dutch government. There are a lot of websites. You need to read what they want, and if you know what they want, you can also describe your project, yeah, in a way that they get it and that they believe in it.
Okay, and there are subsidies for businesses that are not innovative, so like regular startups. I think you said there are all sorts of subsidies, right, for different categories.
There are subsidies for different categories. Most of the subsidies, they like it if you do something new. It doesn't have to be like real new, like a real breakthrough in a sector, but there should be like something new. It doesn't have to be always like the innovation is new. You can also use the same innovation or the same technology for a different group, and that you adjust your innovation to this group. So it doesn't have to be like super new. Maybe there's already an innovation in the water sector, and you can use it in the agri and food sector. So then it's not new, but it's new for the sector, and that's also very good.
And somebody else is asking if you have, you could mention subsidies that are targeting Ethiopia and Ghana companies rather than, most of them are for general European companies.
I have to say that I don't have experience with subsidies in Ethiopia, so I don't really know. No.
Okay, but of
Maybe
course
you can yeah, you can check on the internet grants and then Ethiopia and then see what's coming up. Maybe something is coming up. Yeah.
But I think what they're asking is if these subsidies can be applied in Ethiopia, and I think they can if you are a registered company here, for example, and you get this subsidy to do something in developing countries. I think some are international in nature.
Yeah. There are.
And the next question is that do you support the whole process? Like, could you help draft proposals till submission, maybe at a fee?
Yeah, even after a submission. So we help find and investigate the right subsidies. And then we help it. We write the proposals, and we will file it at the subsidy provider. And if it's granted, we will also help and advise you with about the administration and how to spend it wisely.
Okay, great. And somebody else is asking, do you have subsidies? Do you help with subsidies for NGOs, non-governmental organizations?
Yes, we do that. We have 3 foundation subsidy experts, and we also help for NGOs. That's possible. It's a different world, a bit of a different world in the innovation world, but there are a lot of foundations that could contribute to your project. Yeah.
Okay, somebody else is asking if you, of course, I think you say that you can help enrich the documentation, with writing proposal, but they're asking what's the cost implication for this additional costs apart from the 15%?
Like what we ask is that the company or entrepreneur has the information ready, so that he or she he can tell us like what are the plans, and if you don't have the information ready, we can help with that, but we also ask for we don't want to create a project ourselves. The project has to come out of the entrepreneur. So we can write it down in a very nice way that the subsidy provider will grant it and that they will believe in the project. But it has to come out of the, I will say, heart and brains from the entrepreneur. Yeah.
Okay. Um, uh, s- Sorry, I think. Sorry. Somebody else is asking, it's on the computer. Somebody else is asking if does the innovation have to be market ready?
No, not always. You can also have an innovation that needs to be tested first. So there are, I mentioned the MIT feasibility, for example. You can have also subsidies to test your project. You have to make some assumptions, of course, in your project plan that your project really is filling a gap, a need, and um, uh, yeah, that's very important, but it doesn't have to be like market ready.
Okay, and somebody is asking if you help in ecotourism.
Tourism is a beautiful sector, of course, and I think there are not a lot of subsidies for tourism and ecotourism. I don't know. It has to be more specific. I need to know what the plan is, or what the investment is, or what the project is. Yeah, but we can look into it. So I want to invite all of you, if you are interested. It doesn't cost anything to send. You can also send it firstly to me, and I will transfer it to the right people. But I just put my email address in the chat. I would invite you to send information about your projects, about your plan. You can describe it, or you can send an attachment with it. Then we can look into it and we can check if there are possibilities. So that's totally free of charge, just first check. So do that, and then I'm willing to check it out and help you out.
Yeah, thank you. So the last question, I think this is the last now because we're running out of time. Are new subsidies emerging related to Corona? So are there Corona
Yeah, there
subsidies?
are indeed. Let me check if I can do it directly now, but it's also on our website. There are subsidies that are directly related to Corona, to the measures we are or people are making, and you can get subsidies out of that. Let me see if I have that. If I can put the link in it, but there are subsidies. There's a list of subsidies available.
Yeah,
So we can also send it to you after this event. So just request it on email, and then I will send it to the ones who are interested in it.
Thank you very much, William. I think you deserve a thumbs up. I hope it was so clear to me. I hope everybody else found it clear and helpful. And really, thank you so much for taking your time to really do this. And I'm sure the beauty, I think, with William's business model is that you can just ask for information, and if there are possibilities, they can try to help you without paying anything. And after everything is successful, then you can always pay when you get your payment. So I think this is really something that this group can utilize. And I'm going to share all the information that he sends to me with you, so that you can do follow-ups. I'm happy to always get in touch with William and ask also specific questions on your behalf. And I think now, William, thank you very much for joining us. And I'll give Doreen a chance to say goodbye and thank you. And welcome, Doreen.
Okay, thanks to Willem and Jeroen. I think it was a very interesting session today. We have recorded it. I know some people were unable to join, so they can listen to us afterwards. We'll definitely follow up with the information to all the participants. And I truly hope something will come out of it and some good connections are made today. We'll be back next week for our third webinar. I think we'll post the agenda tomorrow or on Friday, so it will be a surprise. You will discover on Friday who our guests for next week will be, but I strongly encourage you to sign up again. So Jeroen and Willem, we will be in touch, and you shared your email addresses, so I guess that you might have some some work after this session also. Thanks again, and see you all next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good luck. Yeah, good luck,
Thank you
everyone.
very much.
Bye-bye. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Thank
See
you
you.
all, and yeah, please reach out
Bye.
to Frida or me, no problem. So take care.
Yeah, the email addresses
Thank
are
you. Bye.
there, but I will also
Yes.
email them to you, to you all. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
perfect.
Thank you so much.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
We will get connected. Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Yeah, thank you.
How can I leave?
I don't know. You can...
Where's
there's
where's
the
the
red
exit?
button. I think next to the share screen there's the red button. You can press on the red button. Can
On
you
the
see
red.
it?
Oh yeah, okay, thanks.
Bye, Pam. Alem?
Yeah, bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
I tried to go out anyway.
You
Thank
cannot.
you very much. Nice. It was very nice. Very interesting.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank
very
you.
interesting.